Hello, everybody. I am going to be your judge today. I have not been adequately prepared about when this is all going to start and when we should all begin. So I guess we'll just wait for a little bit because I actually don't know because no one's told me really much or any information. Do I have all the competitors, the people who are going to be competing in the room? Can you raise your hands if you're going to be competing in this round today?
That's my hand.
Perfect. Yep. Okay, cool. So okay. So I think that I have everybody. And the other question I have is, those of you who are going to be doing this public forum event, do you all know what your speaking times are?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I think we all do actually.
Okay, you all do. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you all feel comfortable keeping track of your time during the round?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure because sometimes when I judge college stuff, I assume they're going to, then they don't. So I want to make sure you all are comfortable tracking your time. So perfect.
Wait, so what's the topic?
Rosalind's here.
Hi. Wait, you don't. The topic is. Let me find. On balance. I believe it's on balance. The benefits of making higher level education free outweigh the harms.
Do you want to put it in chat for us?
Yes, I will copy and paste it.
You're an amazing human. Thank you so much.
Okay. Do you guys need me to flip the coin? Because I just did it for the main room.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to claim it? Kevin?
I don't know. Heads. Of course it's tails.
Is it? Who is it? Benjamin? Would you like to pick a side?
We can choose con.
All right. So
basically what you're saying is that we should not make colleges free, just to be sure, right?
I believe so. I don't think he's not answering, but yeah, the con side is higher level education should not be free.
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin, pick an order.
We'll go second.
All right. Okay. Whenever you and Steven are ready, you can go ahead. I'll just pop in and out now and then.
Yeah, just give me one quick second. Thank you. I just don't want.
Perfect. Before we begin, I do have one quick question because I don't know who exactly everybody is. So there was a coin flip and then there was a side chosen, or a coin flip with a side chosen in the speaking order. So of that coin flip, we have an affirmative side and a negative side now. And then we have a speaking order. So do we know who is speaking first? Is it the negative or the affirmative speaking first?
I believe that the negative is speaking first.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Wanted to make sure that we got that right. Cool. I want to make sure that I had that, so I know what's happening before we really get going. Thank you so much for this in chat. You are truly an amazing human as well. So I have affirmative first, negative. Okay, perfect. Oh my gosh, you're also amazing. Cool.
Oh, what is wrong with my computer?
Do I begin?
Are we all ready? Are both sides and all four participants ready?
Uh,
Yeah.
can I have the names of my opponents? Because I don't know which ones.
Yes, it's in chat.
Oh,
It was just put in the chat not long ago.
all right, I got it.
Perfect. Now, is everybody ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. And then okay, so I'm gonna ask you all to do one extra thing for me. So you're all gonna keep time of like yourselves and each other. So if you could, when a speech is done, put like the amount of time, you could put how long you spoke for or the amount of time you had left, whichever one you like want to do. I don't really care. But like, will you put that in chat? So that way I know. So that way, like when we're done, I can give you like feedback on like, hey, you could like talk longer and say like X, Y, and Z. Because I want to give you all like super detailed feedback. That'll help a lot. If you don't, it's fine. I'll know just like by listening. But yeah, so I want to give you all super detailed feedback. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. If you are not speaking, if you would please mute, so that we don't hear any possible background noise and I think it's like muffled, that'd be great. Only speakers have their mics unmuted, that would be awesome. And if you're able to, camera on. If not, it's not a big deal. I don't really care, but it's just like traditional like etiquette thing to have camera on when you're speaking, just to let you know. But if you can't, like, it's not a big deal.
I would, but my haircut is horrendous, so probably not.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're speaking, unmuted, of course. If you're not speaking, please feel free to mute, and we can begin whenever you are all ready.
High-level education usually comes after secondary education and is typically concluded with an award or academic degree. High-level education comes with an application fee, which students are required to pay in order to attend it. This fee is necessary for it to stay in business. It can actually help students focus on their studies. Therefore, the benefits of making high-level education free do not outweigh the harms. Um, the harms of making high-level education free do not outweigh the benefits. High-level education provides excellent resources for students to learn better, but they are still in fact businesses. Therefore, first, high-level education must have a fee in order for them to stay in business and stay open. While educating students always remains their main goal, they also have to make a profit if they want to continue doing so. Fees are used strictly to cover the cost of the assessment and admissions process. Secondly, another reason why high-level education charges application fees is to ensure that they only receive applicants from students who are serious about enrolling in their program. If there are no fees levied, students would just send out applications to every school possible in the hopes of increasing their odds. Having to pay a fee forces students to put more thought into where they want to apply. Students may not take their studies seriously if there are no financial consequences if they fail to graduate. High-level education provides the final learning stage for students and is critical to a student's very life. Therefore, if there is no application fee for it, they will go out of business as it will run out of proper funding. Without the final stage of learning, students will not have the complete knowledge that they will need to continue on their life, will not have academic degrees to help them find a job. So high-level education needs to be paid for, or else there will not be any of them anymore.
Okay. All right. Can I take? I don't know. Can I take like 1 minute of prep? Thanks. Let me just grab my timer real quick. Shoot, that's not the timer. That's screen record. All right. My prep starts now. All right. My haircut is still horrendous, so I'm just gonna keep my camera on. I cannot bear to watch. Makes my heart bleed. All right. Are my opponents ready? I'll take that as a yes. And is my judge ready? All right, that is definitely a yes. And my time will start now. First of all, I would just like to offer a framework for this debate. In this debate, whoever can benefit the economy of the United States more should win this debate. Our first and only contention is bringing more opportunities to the people, to young people of the United States so they can get education. First of all, let's look at one very important piece of data, the average cost of tuition. The average in-state tuition is around 9,580 United States dollars, and out-of-state tuition averages at 27,437. The average traditional private university student spends a total of 53,949 United States dollars per academic year. And taking into account student loan interest and loss of income, the ultimate cost of a bachelor's degree may exceed $400,000. That is quite a burden for American families because median household income was $68,703 in 2019. And in 2018, that number was 64,000. As we know, a family is now spending a lot of money of their income on their child, and that is a huge burden to these families because they also have to pay for other things. Education is not the only thing that they have to pay for. And as we know, a lot of times kids are being rejected by college. Kids are already accepted into colleges. However, they cannot apply. They cannot go to these colleges themselves because they do not have enough money. And this needs to stop happening. We are stripping opportunities away from these young and promising people because they do not have enough money. That's not a problem that's caused by themselves. That's a problem that's caused by where they were born, in which household they were born in. We need to start offering these young people opportunities so they can, in turn, benefit the United States economy after they go into the workforce. As we know, the only way of increasing a nation's GDP is by increasing productivity. By having more people enrolling in colleges and enrolling in universities and earning bachelor's degree and master's degrees, there will be less structural unemployment and there will be more productivity. And that is one way to increase the United States GDP. Moreover, these people will not just drop out of colleges because they cherish this opportunity to go to colleges. They cherish this opportunity to learn more things because this is the opportunity that they originally wouldn't have gotten. So they will not drop out of these universities like my opponent states. They will not drop out because they don't care. They actually care. They care about it very much because they know that this opportunity is very rare and this opportunity is very hard to get. And my opponents say that more people will just apply to more colleges, but that's not true. Although financial problems is no longer a problem now, colleges may still be selective. Colleges will still need to look at resumes. Colleges will still need to look at application. So colleges can still be selective. Private colleges like Harvard, Stanford, and the Ivy League, they are still going to be selective, which means that people are not just going to randomly apply for all these universities. My opponents say that colleges will no longer make a profit. However, the United States, the government of the United States will pay for these tuitions. Eliminating tuition for 4 years out of public colleges and universities for all students will cost taxpayers $79 billion a year, according to the United States Department of Education. However, that federal government spent $91 billion in 2016 on policies that subsidized college attendance, which means that the United States has the ability to pay for these tuition, which means that universities will still be able to be open and running. And for that, Judge, that is why you should vote for Poe in today's debate. Thank you.
So now we can begin the crossfire of questioning between our first two speakers.
I'm ready when my opponent's ready.
Kevin, you stated that even if financial problems are no longer there for students to like apply for colleges, and that they'll look at resumes and other application items to see if they will accept the students. However, don't you think that some students would still, even if they put some effort into their resumes and other application items, that they would still just try to apply for as many colleges as they can, because it will still raise their chances. And even if it's really small chance, if they have a bad resume or application item, there's still some people that would do that.
First of all, applying to colleges actually costs money. So what we're saying here is eliminate tuition. We're not saying that we're going to eliminate the cost of applying for colleges. So these people will not just apply for more colleges because the financial barrier is now gone, because they don't have to pay for tuition. They have to pay money for applying to these colleges. And one more thing is, when these students actually know where they are as in terms of, I guess, applications, and they will not just apply to Harvard with a 2.8 GPA. They will not do that. They will not apply to Ivy League schools with a 2.8 GPA just because there will be no tuition. They know that they will not get in, and that's why this will not stress universities, and that's why this is not a problem. Can I have my question? All right, I'll take that as a yes. You say that universities can only stay in business if the students pay their tuition. What if the governments pay the tuition for the students instead? Will universities still go out of business?
Well, some private colleges, since they're private businesses, they will still rely. They're not like the public industry, so they rely on funds that don't come from the government in order to stay in business.
Okay, so they rely on tuitions, right? Right. So what we're saying right now is like these private colleges, instead of students paying their tuition, governments are paying their tuition. So the tuition is still being paid just by a different person, just by a different entity. So does that still harm colleges?
Well, people are still likely it's not like completely that people are, just because the government is paying doesn't mean that people aren't making help to pay for the tuition, since money that the government will pay for the tuitions may come out of taxes
Okay, so if you look into my case, I said in my case that the government spent 91 billion in 2016 on policies that subsidized college attendance, which means that the government spent 91 billion dollars just helping kids so they can go into college. But like I said here, it will only cost taxpayers 79 billion a year for to pay for all the tuition across the country. So the government has the ability right now. So why would the government get money from other taxpayers if the government already has the money?
Well, I can't if the they should, the fee, since people are are paying a fee to get education for themselves, and so the government can use the money that they already have on other purposes, and people that are more important than education, when people can still pay for their own tuition because it's for their own education.
Okay, I believe that's time.
So the second speaker on the negation, I believe that's Howard. If you are ready, or unless you want to take prep time, just let me know.
No, I'm fine. So even though free college seems beneficial to students, it's not beneficial for everyone. The money used on supplies, dormitories, food, etc., has to come from somewhere. If college were to be made free, there's an incredibly high chance that the supplies will come from tax. Knowing that college, as if for now, is not mandatory, that would mean participation in college is based off of personal choice. This would be unfair to the people who didn't choose to go to college or are forced to pay extra tax for the people that did choose to go to college, as they don't benefit from it. This is different from paying tax for a road because many different people can benefit from the road. But if you pay tax for just one person's college tuition, that would only benefit that one person. So say someone has an incredibly large desire for a house. Does that mean it's fair to provide the house for them because they want it? So Kevin stated that colleges can cost an absurd amount of money, which is a huge burden on the family. Just because college is free doesn't mean it's effective. According to ISSDA.org, well, we find that the countries with higher proportions of college graduates tend to be countries with higher college costs for the students. Japan, Canada, the US, and Britain are all among the most expensive countries in terms of net cost. Yet these countries all have higher incidence of college completion among residents. Meanwhile, in France and Germany, the countries with free education, the incidence of college completion is much lower. This was stated by Ryan McMakin, who is a senior editor and economist at the MISES Institute and a former economist at State of Colorado. McMakin then goes on to state that few to no tuition fees are hemmed in financially and explains that free high-level education will discourage colleges and cause them to provide less supplies to the students. Kevin then stated that students wouldn't want to drop out of college. But then again, according to MISES.org, students tend to drop out when free high-level education is provided. I can't speak for everyone, but paying a fee and achieving new heights is most likely better than wasting your time and dropping out of college.
I would like to take a minute of prep. Thank you. All right, we're good.
Okay. My opponents say that it wouldn't benefit everyone and more tax. It is estimated that even without this family income limitation, eliminating tuition for 4 years at all public colleges and universities for all students would cost taxpayers $79 billion a year, according to U.S. Department of Education data. Consider, however, that the federal government spent $91 billion in 2016 on policies that subsidized college attendance. You say that completion is lower, but the US isn't Germany. US is one of the top countries in the world, and they can pay for colleges with taxpayer dollars, which is, you can't really compare Germany with the US because of that. My opponent's entire case is based on no more income for colleges, but like my partner said, no extra money will be spent, and colleges still get their income. Thank you.
Perfect. And we can begin the crossfire between our last two speakers. So Howard and Michelle, you can begin your crossfire whenever you're both ready.
Okay, so do you know exactly how much money that the US has?
No, I don't, but that
Okay. Do you know the difference in income for someone who went to college and someone who did not?
I don't have like the exact comparison, but you could probably make like a proper estimation of the income.
Okay, do you have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay,
If neither of you have any more questions, you can both cease the time and we can keep going. If neither of you have any more questions, just letting you know, it's if you both agree, that is okay.
okay, so back to the Germany versus US thing. Do you know Germany's GDP versus US's GDP?
Okay, so obviously, the US's GDP is going to be higher, but Germany has a GDP of 3.861 trillion USD, and then the US has a GDP of 21.43 trillion.
So that's 7 times the US's GDP is 7 times that of Germany's. So the US can pay for colleges, but not Germany, which basically means your argument about that doesn't work.
Well, my argument wasn't necessarily about the income or the payment for the college. It was more about the people that that went to the college, because even if the government provided money for the college, that doesn't really impact the mindset of the students that go to the college. It doesn't really make a difference on the mindsets of the students.
Okay. I think that's it. Unless, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Perfect. So now we're going to go back to our first speaker from the negation. So Benjamin, unless you want to take prep time, you can begin whenever you're ready.
Oh, can I take a minute? Oh, the harms of free high-level education outweigh the benefits. By having a free high-level education stays in business as it needs funds in order to stay open. Students will be driven to study harder and take studying seriously, as there will be financial consequences if they fail. Students need to pay their tuition for themselves, as they are paying for their own education. Therefore, high-level education must remain paid for. Judge, if you believe that students need to pay for their own education and not the government, just like the government wouldn't just give you a car if you needed one for transportation, then we should win this debate.
Is that the end of your speech? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So, just as an, I guess, off-time roadmap, Judge, I will basically be going through my opponent's offense for our case, and then basically say why their offense does not stand, and then I guess just like summarize the main clash points of this debate. And let me just get my timer. All right. My time of 3 minutes will start now. My opponents say that that because colleges does not want to put effort into the students because there is no income, these colleges will the students of this college will have a lower completion rate. That will have a lower completion rate. That is my opponent's link chain. But what they don't realize is that these colleges in the United States will not have the same effect because they talk about colleges in Germany not wanting to put effort into the students because there's no money. Like we said, Germany does not have enough money as the United States, which is why Germany is not comparable. The United States colleges will put effort into the students, into their college, into their staff, because they have money, because the United States government can afford that money, but Germany cannot. This is why simply stating completion rate in Germany is lower does not mean that completion rate in the United States will be lower. This is why my opponent's offense for our case does not stand. And because that is my opponent's only response to our argument, my opponent's entire case do not stand. And let's look at my opponent's side. My opponents say that there will be no application fee and colleges will not stay in business. Our response was that the United States can pay for that without having new taxpayers, without having taxpayers paying more. You can see our card, which we said in our first speech, in our second speech, and we'll be setting our third speech. It is the card where I say that the United States has $79 billion to pay, and the United States right now has $91 billion to spend, which is why the United States will have enough money. My opponents say that people are not serious anymore. College students are not serious anymore. But I say that colleges are still selective, and these students will still be grateful if they get into the college because they know that these colleges are still very selective. My opponents do not have any response to my attack, which means that they dropped their second contention. My opponents say that these people will not have degrees because they will not finish. But my response to their case is that Germany is not comparable to the United States, and my opponents have yet to demonstrate any rebuttal for my offense, which means that my opponent also drops their third contention, which means that none of my opponent's impacts and contentions stand in this debate. While my side stands because my opponents keep on stressing that colleges will not get enough money, and they keep on disregarding my argument of saying the United States capability of paying for these colleges. And Judge, that's why you should vote for our side, because my opponents do not respond to my attacks for their arguments, and my opponents do not respond, and my opponents fail to address anything in their third speech. And Judge, that's why we should win this debate. Thank you. All right, Grand Cross.
Y'all can be in Grand Cross whenever you're ready.
I am always ready. Do you guys have a question? Hello? Ben, Howard, any questions? Okay, I'll take that as a no. And I guess I'll ask my question. So again, do you know the difference in income of people who have a four-year college degree and people who does not have a four-year college degree? since there's only silence, I will take that as a no. And let me tell you, people who only have a high school diploma will only have a median income of $41,190. And people who have a 2 or 4 year degree, which means that they went to college, will have a median income of 76,000. And people who have and people who have an advanced degree, which means bachelor or master's, will have a median income of 116,265 US dollars, and this stresses the importance of going to college. And what you guys are doing here is denying the possibilities of college for these young aspiring students, and which is you're basically denying them of 70,000 US dollars in income. Do you guys think that's a good choice? Do you guys think that benefits the economy of the United States?
Well, I mean, that's not really guaranteed. Like, you don't know that the income is suddenly going to get elevated.
We know that the income is suddenly going to get elevated. We know, because this is a historical piece of evidence. This evidence is factual. This evidence appears everywhere in the United States. So we do know that it's going to happen, unless you have some way of saying that it will not happen, which I'm all ears. But until you have it, according to our framework, which you did not refuse, our framework was whichever team can boost the United States economy as best as possible should win this debate. And right now, we are boosting US economy better than you are. So right now, we are winning this debate. Do you have any questions? Okay, I think that's the no, and I guess that's it for coin cross. If you guys are good. Okay.
Perfect. Okay. If everybody is good, then we are going to continue on. And the last speech for the negative will be given by Howard. If you want to take prep time, you can. Otherwise, you can jump into it whenever you're ready.
Can I have 1 minute prep time?
Hi. Okay. Sorry, my audio wasn't connected because I was doing something. Is the debate over?
We have 2 more
Almost.
speeches. My bad.
Yep, we're in the last 2 speeches.
My bad.
Say that again. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
We're on the last 2 speeches.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'd hate to interrupt, but some of to the spectators, the elementary public forum has already ended, and the speeches are about to start. So if you want to watch those, you would have to head back to the main room. After this will be the Lincoln Douglas in this room. So again, you can choose whatever you want to watch, but so main room is speeches, informative speeches, or any type of speech, and this room will be Lincoln Douglas. Okay, sorry for interrupting.
So my 1 minute is up. All right, so in conclusion, the harms of high-level education outweigh the benefits. As the money for college has to be provided by citizens who aren't even participating in the college, which provide no benefits for those specific citizens. There are an absurd amount of colleges throughout the US, clearly meaning that the tax needed for the citizens would be greatly elevated, and the amount of tax needed for these colleges would also be paid for people who didn't participate in the college. So, Judge, if you agree that people shouldn't have to pay for a stranger's tuition, we should win this debate.
Nice. And then the last speech from the affirmative side from Michelle, whenever you're ready.
Can I take the last, how much prep time do I have left?
I think we got like 20 seconds.
Yeah, that sounds about right. 20, 30 seconds. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the last.
I think that's time.
Yep, that is time.
Okay. One of our arguments is that the US GDP is perfectly capable of funding for colleges so students can attend. Our opponent completely ignored that argument, meaning they did not have a refutation for that. Judge, if you agree that our arguments outweigh our opponents, then we should win this debate. Thank you.
Okay. Good debate, everybody. You all did a really good job. I am going to make this like quick, and because I see it's recording, so hopefully you all get a copy of this so you can watch it back and listen to my feedback. Because I'm going to kind of go through it really fast. Because I want to make sure we kind of keep on the somewhat schedule we have going on. Okay, so you both teams did a good job. I'm going to give you all like some specific feedback in about your stuff like individually and like as a collective unit, how you work together. So first individually, I'm going to start with, well, beginning with Ben. Ben, you had a really good speech. You did a really good job like giving your speech and kind of talking me through like what you were trying to say. So really good in your first speech. That was awesome. The things that like you specifically could like use or need like to build like the case a little bit better and make it like a little bit more structured. Pause a bit more. So when you kept telling me your points, you kind of went 1 and then started talking, and 2 and started talking, and 3 and started talking. Kind of give me a little bit of a pause. My first point is blank, and then pause for a second, and then keep going. And then like my second point is blank, and then like keep going. So like kind of give your judge and your audience some time to kind of think, to kind of know exactly where you're at and what's happening. So kind of just kind of build in those natural pauses, but that'll take time. I still have college students that I coach that have issues with that. So do not worry, it is okay. And then you have a lot of good stuff in your case. You really do. You have a lot of interesting points, a lot of really good things going on here. The thing that you need to do more of in your crossfire is to ask questions. When you get to your crossfire time, ask more questions. Don't make arguments. Don't try to make arguments, because that's not what that time is for. It's to ask your opponent to kind of clarify some things that were said in the case, or things that were said throughout the round, however long it's been. To kind of ask questions and really focus on asking questions during that 3-minute crossfire time. And during that 3-minute grand crossfire time, really focus on asking questions. And then Ben, your last speech, your second speech, which was your last one, if I look at like my timings, yeah, your second speech, it was also good. What you need to do in that speech though, so that speech is is a really important speech for like the round itself and like how like debate kind of functions and how public forum works. That speech is really, really important. And your job is to really tell your judge why you've won, which you did. But it's also important that you listen to what your partner says, and if your opponent's like dropped any point or didn't touch on anything that your partner said, then just like extend it across, what we call extending across the flow, or just like bringing it up again, saying, hey, my partner said XYZ. They didn't talk about this, so we can extend it. Like you did it. You and your partner both kind of did it with your Germany example. The other team completely misunderstood and mishandled that like analogy and that piece of evidence. So there are like a lot of arguments you could make, Ben, in your speech. You could come up and say, one, they totally mishandled this piece of evidence. They don't understand what it's saying, or they totally mishandled this piece of evidence. This is what it's actually saying. That it's not about the country's it's not about the country's GDP. It's not about how much money the country makes. It's not about how much money the country spends on education. It's about when college is free, students graduate much less, like at a lower rate. So if we make colleges free, we're going to have less graduates, which would then hurt the US economy, right? So the other team completely misunderstood and never even actually answered the example and the piece of evidence adequately. And so it's your job in that speech to kind of tell your judge, hey, they did not answer this adequately. They keep talking about how Germany doesn't, or how the US has more money than Germany. Your answer is like, cool, you're right, they do. It is irrelevant. It does not matter because it's not what a piece of evidence is saying. It's saying that students perform less, not colleges, or not that government gives less money. It's not what it's about. It's about students performing less when they don't have to pay for college because they don't have that incentive of their own money. So making sure you bring that up. Also, there's another piece of evidence that your partner brought up. The second piece of evidence from the MIES website the second piece of evidence that your partner brought up from the website that wasn't really addressed at all by your opponent. So to kind of make sure you're writing down and knowing what your partner said, and then you're writing down the other team's arguments against that. So that way you know what was actually said. That'll help you out a lot in making up a lot of that time in that speech and kind of utilizing more of your time. What I'll tell you all is throughout the entirety of this round, which this is this is normal, is that we're missing a lot of these impacts, right? It's we said the negative is college shouldn't be free because people shouldn't have to pay for it. They're not going to use it. But so what? Why do I care about that? And that's where I get impacts. Maybe if people pay too many taxes, they're not going to have enough money to go on a vacation that they might want to go on, or if they pay more on taxes because the government's paying for college, they're going to we're going to have more poverty because people aren't making that much money, right? So I need these impacts, and the way to get impacts is kind of ask yourself, well, so what? Why do I care about this specific thing? And that's all of you all around. I need more impacts. I really do. That really tells me what to do. Rosalind, we're going to start really soon. Sorry. I'm trying to give detailed feedback, but be fast about it. Okay, but yeah. So it was really good.
Wait, did you already announce the winner?
No, I haven't announced winner. I'm just giving them both. I'm just giving them feedback.
Oh, okay. If you could private message me the winner so I could, because I'm making the certificates right now.
Yeah, let me do that. I'll do that right now.
We still have time. The speeches have started, but it's Erica and then Frank and then Teresa, Yuming, Alex. That's the order. So you still have quite a I'd say 6-8 minutes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I just messaged you. I'm just giving them all feedback, and then so yeah. Okay. But it's general. It's not they're not going to know who won, so don't worry. All right, cool. Sorry. Okay, so Ben, really good job. Also, and then Ben, work on being more assertive. You can do it. You've got this. Be confident. You know what you're saying. You know what you're talking about. Be assertive. You've got it. When Kevin kept asking you, do you know how much in their first crossfire, Kevin kept asking you things about do you know how much money a college student makes? Or no, Ben. Ben. Kevin kept asking you well, if the government's going to pay for it, then are the colleges really losing money? Ben, your answer to that is literally, where does it say that in our topic? It does not say that anywhere. So we don't actually know what's going to happen. So how can we say that? That's just an easy answer. We don't know that that's what's going to happen because it doesn't say that in the topic. The topic does not say government will pay for colleges. It just says colleges are going to be free. We don't know what that means. So the harms are still really bad. But yeah, so but overall you did a good job, Ben. Really good. Then I'll go Howard next. Howard, you did a really good job too. Your points are really clear and concise. The only thing that you everyone should do really. Before your speeches, kind of give like a roadmap. Tell me what you're going to do and where you're going to go. Be like, okay, first I'm going to start by like talking about my case and building it up, and then boom, I'm going to go on like the negative case and like and attack it, or on the other person's case. For you, Howard, you're the negative, so you'd be on the affirmative case. But kind of give me like a guide, a roadmap, a guide of what you're going to be doing in your speech, so I can like easily follow it. That would be really helpful, really helpful. And Howard, in your crossfire period, like ask questions, even if you don't like feel like you have good ones. It doesn't matter. Just ask things. Like it's okay. If you start asking questions, you'll get used to it, and you'll start like creating better questions as you like keep doing it. But just ask something. It doesn't even matter if you fully understood something. Just ask them, and like that's okay. But you had really good answers when Michelle asked you questions. So you had really good answers, Howard, for sure. And even you had really good answers in the Grand Crossfire too. It was it was very nicely done, your answers. And then like, so they kept like asking you, do you know how much like the differences in income between someone who gets a high school diploma, bachelor's degree, master's degree, blah, blah, blah. Like your answer is like, no. And guess what? It doesn't matter because you haven't made this an argument. So it's irrelevant now. So it doesn't matter. Like that's like all you really have to say is that cool, is that I don't know and I don't need to know, but it's not, that's not what I'm arguing. A, and B, you haven't made the argument. This is crossfire. Ask questions, don't make arguments. So it's kind of like how you can answer that, Howard. But your speech was good. You kind of like gave me really like good information. You make sure that you like specifically attack like some of what like your opponents are saying. That'll help you a lot more. And like make sure you write down what your opponents are saying so you can easily attack them. And like I said, both teams, I need like impacts and things like, but you have like really good answers. You have good sources. You're like the only person to cite sources, which is pretty cool. One of the only people to cite sources, which is pretty cool. I like that because that like actually shows like you've done research and shows that like you have credibility backing you up, which is awesome. So you did a really good job there, Howard, for sure. Oh, both of you, Howard and Ben, use your prep time. Like even if you feel like fine, you feel like you know what you're gonna say, just use it. Like it doesn't hurt to kind of just chill for like 30 seconds or a minute before one of the like the summary speeches or your final focus. Like just kind of make sure you're good. And to make sure your mental is good, because it's there for you to use. Just use it. It doesn't hurt. It really doesn't hurt. So use it. Like it's there for you. So you both did a good job. Okay, Kevin. So Kevin, you use prep time before like your first speech. I don't really think that's not always necessary. As you like do debate more, you'll kind of see that's not really what most people do, like for like that constructive speech, because ideally you're not like attacking the other person's case. You're really building your own. So your first speech, you ideally don't need to use prep time for. You should just be able to kind of pick up your case and go. But it's fine, but it's probably not necessary, most likely. And Kevin, during your crossfire period, you kept making arguments. That is like, oh, you're good. No, you're fine. And that's okay, it happens. So Kevin, during Crossfire, you kept making arguments, and that's not what that time is for. Make sure like it's for asking questions, right? Getting clarification about like what was said and what's going on in the round. So make sure you're asking questions and you're not like making arguments, because you did that a lot during your first Crossfire. That was most of the first Crossfire, was you like making arguments. That's really not what that's for. Make sure you're asking questions. Then during the Grand Crossfire, you like made a bunch. You asked some good questions, but then you like made a bunch of arguments also, and like brought in a bunch of evidence that like is kind of irrelevant at that point because it was never brought into an argument during the round. So like make sure again you're asking questions. With the online format, even actually in person too, it is important to give like some kind of wait time. Like you kept saying, like, you would ask them, do you have any questions? And then like immediately you would say, oh, I guess that's a no. Like give them like every single, if you're going to ask them, do you have any questions? Let them think and give them time to ask questions. Like most of the time when you were like, do you have questions? You kind of immediately said, I guess that's a no, because they were silent, which like happens. That's not a big deal. But give it like 3-4 seconds. Like it's okay. It's not gonna like destroy you or your strategy. It's fine. So just kind of give it like that little bit of time. You made good arguments for sure throughout the round. You had good like clash with your opponents, which was nice. You extended your arguments and your partner's arguments that were dropped by your opponents, and you like specifically laid that out that this is a dropped argument. One thing that in your second speech that you need to do more of that that this is messy for everybody in public forum, even like my college students who I coach doing public forum, they mess this up too, is like extending your framework. Like you did it during the crossfire, and that was like the only time you actually talked about it again was during that crossfire. And you never, you said it once during you said at the beginning of your first speech, and you didn't say it again to the grand crossfire. It's a little late, right? It's not a little late, but you like keep bringing it up. So bring it up during your second speech, saying, hey, I never touched my framework. Don't forget, Judge, this is the way we're evaluating the round. Extend it or tell your judge like extend it across the flow, or just keep talking about it. So make sure you do that throughout the entirety of the speeches of your speeches as well. But really good job there. You were a little bit aggressive at times, but it's not as big of a deal. I don't think it'll hurt you too much in the future. Just kind of watch it a little bit, but I think you'll be okay. Michelle, you did a really good job in your speech. In your crossfire, you asked really good questions actually. During Grand Cross, you were silent, which is kind of sad because I kind of wanted to hear what kind of questions you might have had. So kind of make sure your voice is heard throughout the round. Make sure that that you're staying participatory throughout the entire round. So make sure you're like asking questions, at least one question during Grand Crossfire. Something with like Benjamin and Howard, like make sure you ask at least one question during Grand Crossfire. Even if you don't think it's good, that's okay. Just ask a question. It's not going to hurt you. But Michelle, you had a lot of really good points, some really good analysis. Make sure that you also extend across like your framework that was not touched. So like make sure you like bring it up throughout your speech. This is how we're evaluating the round, Judge. Don't forget. Yeah, and you had good extensions. You had some good arguments. And yeah, so yeah, you all did a really good job. I am thoroughly impressed with all of you because I know I've coached high school students and some freshmen in college that don't debate as well as you all did. So you did a really, really good job here. I hope this feedback is helpful. I really hope so. I hope this feedback is helpful. And I mean, you can talk to Professor Pape and he can probably like give you my email, or he can like, or I can tell Professor Pape more like specific stuff and he can tell you them as well. If you should want like something more super specific. So yeah, but good job, everybody.
Thank you. I guess we'll see you in the main room.
Yes, okay. So, well, you can watch the speeches, but Kevin, I believe you're also doing Lincoln Douglas in here afterwards.
Wait, I still am. I thought I just canceled.
No, what?
Never mind.
Okay, but yeah. So I'll put on like, so this room is in break. If you guys want to go watch the speeches in the main room, you can. But the Lincoln Douglas debate will start soon. So if you guys want to stay here, that's also an option. I'm gonna put the QR code for our PayPal on. Hold on, I think I just, oh, hold on. Okay, I exited out of it by accident. But yeah, I'll put the QR code up and that so you can scan it if you want to donate. I'll also put music on for you guys. Okay, here we go. If you want to go back to the main room, that's fine. But I think the participants for Lincoln Douglas should, if you choose to watch the speeches, make it like 1 or 2 minutes max. Otherwise, go to the restroom, do your thing, take a water break, whatever. And Lincoln Douglas debates will be in this room very shortly. Okay. Are you guys ready to start the Lincoln Douglas?
Not. I am so very not.
You're so very not?
Yes.
What? I thought you wrote like your case like a week ago.
I did, but now I'm stressing.
Okay.
Bro, I did PF for 2 years. I did not do OD for 2
Okay,
years.
well, I mean, you decided to sign up for Lincoln Douglas, so
Yeah,
go outside your comfort zone.
I'll put a forced labor into this.
You were not. Oh, okay. Michelle, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I believe you two are the only people for Lincoln Douglas, so it's only going to be one debate. There was a third person, but I believe they had like last minute something, they couldn't arrive, so I think it's just you two.
Why would you put me up against my comrade? I cannot.
Your comrade.
I cannot.
When you just debated together, now you have to debate against each other.
Yes.
Okay, well, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Whenever you're ready, and Steven, you as well. Oh, also Kevin and Michelle, not to pressure you or anything, but like
I'm already
Steven
feeling pressured.
is an expert in Lincoln Douglas, apparently. So keep that in mind when you're debating. That'll be
This
fun.
was literally my first Lincoln Douglas debate.
I've
That's
never
okay.
done Lincoln Douglas either.
That's okay.
Literally.
It's just like a public forum, except completely different.
Okay,
I know.
I will stop the screen share now. All right. Whenever you guys are ready.
What is the topic, and do we have sides chosen?
The topic is, should the COVID vaccine be mandatory?
Oh, it's that one. Okay, cool.
We were originally gonna make it like the sides random because there were 3 people and like there was no way we could predict. But since
But now, I
yeah.
guess Con and Michelle's pro, right?
You're just deciding for her?
Yeah, I'm Con and she's pro.
No, no,
just to
wait,
spite him.
wait. I thought we were supposed to decide by coin flip.
Okay, yes,
No,
we will
we
decide
don't
by
have to decide by coin
We'll
flip.
decide by coin flip.
Decide by coin flip.
Okay. Let
I
me.
like coin flip.
All right. Okay. Michelle, choose heads or tails.
Heads.
Okay, choose your side.
Con.
Bro!
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, Kevin,
Oh my god.
choose your order.
Bro, there's literally no way to debate pro in this.
Oh wait, affirmative always goes first, right?
Yes, and
Yes.
LD affirmative always goes first.
Okay, Kevin, you're first.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, have fun.
You'll be fine. If you need assistance, you can call on me and I'll give you some assistance. You're fine. Both of you can.
Okay.
Do you both know your speaking times and your prep times?
I know, yeah, 6 minutes.
Perfect. Yep. So 6, 3, 7, 3, 4, 6, 3, then 4 minutes of prep time. Perfect. Whenever you're ready, Kevin.
I know, I'm just trying to organize stuff. Okay. Bro, 6 minutes. That's a long time to fill. Alright. I guess my time starts now. First of all, let's look at the damage of the virus COVID-19 and what it has done to the world and the United States. First of all, United States GDP in 2019 is 21.5 trillion US dollars, and US GDP in 2020, guess what? It actually didn't decrease by a lot. It's 20.93 trillion, but that is a decrease of $500 billion, which to the United States does not seem like a lot because it is a super country, but to a person living in the United States, it actually affected them a lot. And then let's look at deaths from COVID. Right now, worldwide, we have 42,847 deaths worldwide due to COVID-19 itself. And right now, that number is not decreasing, and that number is still on the rise. And if, Judge, you guys do not want more deaths from this virus, and you do not want more pauses in your lives from this virus, then you should take the COVID vaccine. And let me explain to you. There are three types of COVID vaccine right now. There's the Pfizer, there's the Moderna, and then there's the J&J. And right now, all three vaccines work differently and have different side effects and have different results, but they are all safe and they all have a success rate of above 90%. So there will not be worries about these vaccines not working because success rate is higher than 90%. Second of all these vaccines have their side effects, such as Johnson & Johnson. If you are a female who is below the age of 50, you may get blood clots from Johnson & Johnson vaccines. And that's one of the reasons many people do not want to take the vaccine. But the thing is, the United States right now has three types of vaccines, and there's always one that fits for you. People under the age of 16 can take the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. People above the age of 16 can take the Pfizer vaccine. And there's always a fit for everyone, so no one should be harmed by the vaccine, and no one will be harmed by the vaccine. Most importantly, right now, one out of every 3 Americans still deny the vaccine, still do not want to take the vaccine, and that must be stopped. That is one of the reasons why vaccines should be mandatory, because only by using vaccines, there will be a complete rid of COVID. Without everyone being vaccinated, herd immunity actually does not work. We can see from results of India, we can see from results from the Great Britain, herd immunity does not work, and it is still at the moment not working. And India right now has 1 million cases already, and the virus has mutated in Great Britain. And these are cases where we can see herd immunity does not work. So if you guys, if judge and opponent and spectators, if you guys really want this world to get rid of COVID completely and 100%, then you should vote for pro, and you should vote for vaccines to be mandatory, because vaccines right now is the only way for us to get rid of COVID, and vaccines is the only way for us to get out of the pandemic. There are no other shortcuts. There are no other solutions. And this is the only clear and possible way right now. And I truly do not see a reason why the vaccines should not be mandatory. And judge, if you want to get rid of COVID, if you want your lives to be normal, if you want people to stop dying, then yes, you should make vaccines mandatory. Thank you. First LD speech. Please don't blame me for it being so bad. Yeah.
Okay, wait. Just to clarify, is after his first speech, is it the cross exam?
It is your time to cross-examine the affirmative, yes.
Okay. So, do you know that viruses constantly mutate?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so then do you know that a vaccine, as a virus constantly mutates, that means a vaccine becomes less and less effective?
Not necessarily, because vaccines right now, they actually inject a weaker version of the COVID virus into your body right now, and it does not harm your body as much as the COVID-19 virus itself. It basically tells your immune system to be able to identify the virus and be able to kill it once it enters your body, and that makes the COVID-19 virus less harmful and less dangerous. And no matter how much the virus mutates, our immune system will still be able to identify it. So it can mutate 100 ways, and our immune system can still be able to identify it, and vaccines will still work.
Do you know that like over time that's not quite how it works? There are some vaccines actually that studies have shown have decreased in effectiveness. In fact, actually, I have an example of the COVID vaccine right now. According to the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy, there were 20 serum samples collected from 15 participants in a 2020 trial of the vaccine 2 to 4 weeks after their second dose, and they tested the vaccines, but it turns out they were 2/3 weaker against the B.1.351 mutation of the virus. So
And can I ask questions, or can I not ask questions? I can't ask questions, right?
So you can like ask your opponent to clarify a question, but you can't like ask as like a question like you're about to know.
Right. That's a clarification question. What brand of this vaccine is it?
What?
What brand is this vaccine? Is it the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, Chinese Eastern Tech vaccine, or Pfizer vaccine, or BioNTech vaccines?
It's the Pfizer.
It's the Pfizer vaccine. And you say that after COVID mutates, there's a chance of the vaccine being weaker.
It's not a chance, it's scientifically proven.
It becomes okay.
Weaker.
So what about all the other vaccines? Are they all proved to be useless?
No, but they have been tested a lot more than the current one. And as we can see through the blood clots that have developed in people, even after the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was supposedly safely tested, it proves that we are not yet ready to make this mandatory.
Okay, that is the cross-ex time. And then Kevin, your questions went into out of the realm of like clarification and into like what you would ask during your cross-ex. So like the first question you asked was fine, but like the rest were like too much. So the first question was fine. The rest were just too much, but it's okay. So yeah, so that is your cross-ex time. And Michelle, if you'd like to take prep, you can, or you can just jump into your speech, whatever you want to do.
I think I can jump into my speech. Okay. The COVID-19 vaccine should not be mandatory. Even though we are currently in a pandemic, that doesn't change the fact that people have rights. No one can force another person to take a vaccine if they don't want it, even if it might be better for them. Some people have underlying health conditions that prevent them from taking it. Some may not be able to get it easily, and others still are skeptical about it being safe. My argument here is that it should be recommended, but not mandatory. Contention 1. The COVID vaccine isn't necessarily safe for everyone. Sure, every vaccine has its side effects, maybe some coughing, nausea, arm soreness, or etc. when they were first made. But they all improved over time to the point that pretty much, if not everyone, is in the safe zone to take one for an illness. That doesn't yet apply to the COVID one. Take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, for example. Despite having been safely tested and released to the public, was it out of the clear? No. According to scientificamerican.com, published April 23, 2021, earlier this month, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommended a pause in the use of the Johnson & Johnson J&J COVID-19 vaccine, following reports that within 2 weeks of getting it, 6 women developed blood clots, and one of them died. About 6.8 million people had received the vaccine at that time. Yeah, that was only 6 out of 6.8 million, but that was for a vaccine that had already gone through trials and was supposedly safe to use. Yet still, there were side effects way worse than some soreness in the arm. And who knows? Just because fatal issues haven't been discovered in the Moderna or Pfizer vaccines doesn't mean something couldn't happen. Until we are absolutely sure that it's safe for everyone, it shouldn't be forced. Not even the flu shot is mandatory, and that's been around since 1945. Even in a pandemic, we cannot make people take it. Contention 2. Following health protocols comes first. Even after the flu vaccine was administered, it didn't just go back to normal all of a sudden. The world was still in bad shape, and due to fear of it failing to work, many still remained in a quarantine state. It's no different for the current pandemic, and even after administering vaccines, with a decrease in effectiveness as time progresses, it won't be enough to stop the spread. In fact, what everyone should be focusing on is social distancing, wearing masks, and avoiding crowded areas. Because for every vaccine that's administered, the cases continue to rise. Not to mention that, again, it may not even be entirely safe. According to the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy, published February 18, 2021, in a letter on the Pfizer/BioNTech BNT162b2 coronavirus vaccine, a team led by scientists from the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston made 3 recombinant viruses with different mutations using a SARS-CoV-2 isolate from January 2020. Using 20 serum samples collected from 15 participants in a 2020 trial of the vaccine 2 to 4 weeks after their second dose, they tested the sample's ability to neutralize the 2020 strain in all variants, including B1351 and B117. All serum samples were able to neutralize the viruses, but were about 2/3 weaker against the B1351 spike protein. Viruses mutate constantly, and the coronavirus does too. So while the governments might be issuing free vaccines in the future, effectiveness is always decreasing. Not to mention they aren't technically free. They're paid for through tax dollars and other forms, which means that governments will be losing money as the vaccines are losing their capability. My opponent says that with the US's high GDP, this price will not be a problem, but consider the number of people that there are. Not to mention, even more are being born literally every single day. So the cost will continue increasing. And with the US's drop in economy, it's not going to work if this continues. Instead, have people who want to take it get their shots while those who don't won't be forced. That way, cost is minimized, and if health protocols are followed, then COVID-19 can still be neutralized. I am not denying that we're in a global pandemic that has already killed thousands, nor am I denying that the vaccine is helping. In fact, it should be recommended because it really is slowing down the spread. But even so, that doesn't give people an excuse to force others into taking a vaccine they don't want simply for the greater good. If someone thinks it's too risky and they'd much rather push through their own way, then that's their decision. Because if they do end up developing a problem as fatal as blood clots or something worse, then it's on the ones who made it mandatory to take the blame. What we should be focusing on is getting everyone to follow social distancing, mask wearing, and etc., not forcing people to get a shot that's decreasing in effectiveness constantly. Thank you.
Cool. So now, Kevin, you cross-examine Michelle.
How much time do I have in this session?
3 minutes for this
3 minutes.
cross-examination.
Okay. All right. So first of all, you say that. Wait. So this is where I can ask like questions about her case and not clarifying questions.
Yes, exactly. This is your time to ask questions.
All right. So you say that social distancing can work. Then, if you say that if social distancing really work and if people of the U.S. really are practicing social distancing, why were there still cases before the vaccine was introduced? Why didn't the cases just drop straight to 0?
That is exactly my point. The thing is, what we should be focusing on is having people follow the rules for social distancing instead of trying to prioritize the vaccine. Because again, the vaccine is not going to be as effective as when it was first administered. So there, even with a vaccination, if people don't follow the protocols, then it's not going to work. So making it mandatory should not be our priority.
Okay, so you're saying that we are focusing on the vaccine too much and not focusing on the social distancing, right?
Basically, what I mean is like the vaccine is not really going to work unless the people, we as the citizens, actually follow rules.
Okay, so the vaccine, what the vaccine does is that you cannot catch the COVID vaccine. You cannot catch the COVID virus. And the vaccine was actually authorized on December 11th, 2020. And there were still cases before that when the United States was not actually focusing on people being injected by people being injected by the vaccine. So why were there still cases even when the United States were not focusing on the vaccine? According to your case, there shouldn't be any cases, right?
No, that is not quite what I said. What I'm saying is the country is failing to actually enable like people to follow these protocols. There are so many people that during spring
Okay.
break they still went out even though they weren't.
I know, yeah. So how will the country suddenly be able to do that while the country failed to do that over the past 1 year and 2 months? How will the country suddenly be able to do that?
They won't. You have to work
Yeah,
on
they
that. So
won't. So that's
instead of
exactly why you should use
focusing on
vaccines, right?
making a vaccine mandatory when there has so far, by my knowledge, no other vaccine that has been made mandatory, it shouldn't like shouldn't we probably be focusing on
Right.
like
So again, you say that vaccines should not be the focus,
yeah,
and social distancing should be the focus.
yes,
So
following health protocols.
okay, so why, if social distancing was focused, social distancing decreases cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And social distancing was focused before the vaccine was introduced, right?
Yes.
So why didn't cases go down before the vaccine was introduced when social distancing was supposedly being focused? Why didn't cases go down? Why were there still new cases? Please explain to me.
Because people did not follow that.
Right. So right now, why would people suddenly start following it, even though when vaccines were not focused and social distancing was focused, why would people start focusing it now? Why would people suddenly change?
But then why would people suddenly focus on getting the vaccine if they weren't
Because
even
the
worried
vaccine
about
works, because the vaccine reduces the number of COVID-19 patients. The vaccine is the only way to actually stop people from getting COVID-19 and stop people from spreading it.
Okay, that's
that's
time.
way past 2 minutes. My bad.
Yep, that's time. Hey, Kevin, you can use your prep time if you'd like, or you can jump into your speech. Your next speech is your rebuttal, and it is 4 minutes, so you can use some of your prep time if you'd like.
All right. I'll use like 1 minute of prep.
Okay, you have 4 minutes of prep total, just to let you know.
All right. My time will start now.
Cool.
All right, I believe that's time. All right. And my rebuttal will start now. My opponents first say that vaccines should not be mandatory because citizens of the United States have the rights, which I agree. However, states can and have the legal and constitutional authority to require that people who live in that state be vaccinated or to introduce a vaccine mandate. And the authority for the state being able to compel vaccination was affirmation of that authority goes all the way back to a United States Supreme Court case in 1905 called Jacobson versus Massachusetts. And that case was about the smallpox vaccine being mandated, and states had the right to mandate vaccines by the time of 1905, which means that my opponent's first contention about civilian rights actually doesn't stand because there's no factual evidence. Second of all, my opponents try to provide an alternative for solving the COVID-19 problem, which is social distancing. However, my opponents fail to show how social distancing can decrease COVID-19 cases in the United States. Never mind. China did a good case on social distancing because people in China, Chinese citizens, agreed to have a curfew. They agreed to stay inside their houses. However, the United States citizens were different. They did not like the curfew. They did not want to stay in their houses. They wanted to hang out, have parties, go on vacations. They did not want to social distance. My opponents say that social distancing should be focused, but my opponents fail to realize that social distancing is not working. Social distancing in the social distancing right now in the United States at least is not working. My opponents say that social distancing should be focused instead of the vaccine, but even when it was focused before vaccines were introduced on December 11th, 2020, United States cases were still on the rise and did not show any signs of being on the decrease. That's why my opponent's alternative does not work, because she does not show factual evidence on how social distancing can work. So right now, the only solution to the United States COVID-19 problem is the Pfizer vaccine, is the Moderna vaccine, is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. My opponents say that these vaccines are not safe. Yes, my opponents provide one type of COVID-19, one type of the COVID-19 virus that doesn't necessarily work for Pfizer, for the Pfizer vaccine. However, there are two other vaccines. My opponents say that blood clots started forming in vessels, but there were 6 cases out of 6.2 million vaccines being distributed. My opponents do not respond to my assertion, that my opponents do not respond to my contention on saying how vaccines, there are multiple choices of vaccines and people can always find their fit. They do not have to take the COVID vaccine. They do not have to take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. They do not have to take the Moderna vaccine. They can always have their say in what vaccines they take. All we're saying is that they need to take a COVID vaccine. We're not saying that they need to take one of these vaccines. My opponents again say that there will be a decrease in the United States economy. But right now, the United States economy is being hurt. The unemployment rate is 10.5, where natural unemployment rate is 4.5%. Right now, the United States economy is being hurt, and making COVID vaccines mandatory can help the United States economy get back on track and benefit the United States economy more than without a COVID vaccine mandate. And Judge, that's why you should vote for pro in today's debate. Thank you.
Can I take some prep time?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Give me 1 minute.
It's been just over a minute. Do you want to keep going?
I think I'm ready.
Cool.
Okay. Sorry. My opponent said that the success rate of the vaccines are high, but viruses mutate constantly, and even as we are debating this right now, the effectiveness of the vaccines are dropping. I'm saying it should be recommended, but not required. And I'm also not saying that it shouldn't be a focus. It should definitely be at the forefront of things. Sorry if I didn't clarify enough during the cross exam, but take the Spanish flu epidemic during the World War. After people got vaccinated, did life go back to normal, like literally immediately? No, it did not. The thing is, this pandemic is bad, but not an epidemic. Even if life is difficult now, spending money on vaccines that continue to decrease in effectiveness when the economy is already struggling is not going to work in the long run. My opponent said that the Pfizer vaccine is only one vaccine out of 3 that doesn't work as well. One of those other 2 caused fatal blood clots in 6 women. No matter even if that is a small percentage of people, that kind of mistake cannot be overlooked. And the Moderna vaccine, based on the fact that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine failed even after having been safely tested, we don't know if something wrong could happen with the Moderna vaccine. So it's simply not safe. And my first contention was actually it isn't necessarily safe for everyone. I did mention human rights, but I did not make that quite one of my contentions. So you didn't really refute entirely my first contention. So okay. And my second contention was following health protocols comes first because it does. I mean, look, China before the vaccine was made, it was already doing pretty well. And with the vaccine, cases are still rising. So clearly we don't know if this vaccine will actually stop it as will entirely stop it as my opponent seems to be saying. Right now, our focus should definitely be following the health protocols because it worked 100% for China, while we do not know if the vaccine will work for us right now. So, yeah, okay, I think that's it.
Cool. So Kevin, if you'd like to take the rest of your prep time, you can. This is going to be your last speech here of 3 minutes.
Okay. What exactly am I supposed to do here?
So this is the second affirmative rebuttal, and really all you're supposed to do here is like extend across arguments that like were not adequately touched by your opponent. You're to like reiterate the arguments you made in your first rebuttal, like, hey, they totally misunderstood this, and this is what I meant by it, and kind of like reiterate those. You can like you can't like bring in new pieces of like evidence, but you can like kind of add on additional like comments or add on like additional arguments, like what they were saying about your arguments. So your opponent rebutted one of your arguments, so you can like answer that, but you can't like bring in new evidence. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And then like kind of like, again, of course, like tell your judge why you've won and kind of go that way. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Cool.
I'll take all my remaining prep time. Actually, I'll take like 2 minutes, I guess.
Cool.
My time starts now. All right, I'm ready. And my time will start now. First of all, I'll focus on my opponent's rebuttal to my argument. My opponents say that since China's social distancing policies worked, the United States should do the same, and the United States will recover. However, people of China actually follow these protocols. People of China actually downloaded apps on their phones to track wherever they went, so the government can remind them if they were in close contact. But U.S. citizens were not willing to do that. U.S. citizens have repeatedly shown that they do not want to do that over the course of the last year and 2 months. So this does not work in the United States. We have historical evidence over the past year that this does not work. And my opponents really do not provide any other alternative than social distancing, which we have clearly seen over the last year not working, causing the death of 571,000 Americans. My opponents wants to keep on doing this, which means my opponents want 571 people to keep on dying. I hate comparing lives, and that's one of the least I guess ethics things to do in debate. But I feel like I need to say that 571,000 lives is more important than one life that's being affected by the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. My impact in this debate, me and my opponent's impact have the same magnitude. However, my scope is way larger. My scope is 571,000 times larger than my opponent's. Judge, if you vote for us, you can help save more lives in the United States. You can help save more lives around the world. And if you vote for my opponents, all we're gonna do is suffer in this virus and suffer in this pandemic for God knows how many more years. My opponents, and again, let's look at my opponent's side of the case. My opponent's only actual contention is the fact that we should focus social distancing. My opponents say that China worked, but just because China worked doesn't mean that the United States will work. My opponents say that the vaccines are not safe, and that's why we should use social distancing. But social distancing is more unsafe. Social distancing has caused 571,000 US citizens to die. Vaccines has caused 1. And Judge, that's why you should vote for us, because my impact have more scope and the same magnitude, which means that my impact should be valued more in this debate. And my impact clearly falls through because my opponent's rebuttal for my case doesn't actually really fall through. My opponents keep on disregarding my claim of saying how the United States and China are not the same, and my opponents disregard the importance of vaccines and that vaccines are the only way to solve this pandemic. And Judge, that's why you should vote for pro side in this debate. Thank you.
Good round, you two. This was another really good round. Okay, so good round, both of you. You both did a good job. This topic is, I think it's kind of fun. I think there are like good arguments on both sides. I think that you both did a good job of really kind of analyzing like what the topic was trying to get at and where you wanted and what the topic really wanted to go. I always give like some feedbacks to Kevin because like Kevin spoke first, so I want to give feedback to Kevin first. So Kevin first, did a really good job in your first speech. You're constructive of laying out your case. You could have been like a little bit like more like succinct in like what you were saying, like saying like you're like Michelle like Michelle had contention 1, contention 2, contention 3, like that would have been nice to have that kind of structure in your case to follow exactly like where your arguments were placed and like kind of what was going on in those arguments. But I followed along enough. But it would have been nice to kind of have this like more structure, and structure will always be your friend. It'll help you out throughout the round to kind of know exactly what your opponent attacked on. Like when we talk about debate and we talk about like when we're into the rebuttals, there's this process we call like the line by line argumentation, when we literally go line by line and what our opponent said against us, then we attack that like specific line or area or thing of argumentation. So like when you're organized, it'll help you to kind of attack that line by line and not just kind of be everywhere, because it felt like you were kind of everywhere. When it came to, so like one of the arguments that you really could have made during one of the answers you could have given Kevin during the first cross-examination when Michelle was asking you questions, it's like, do vaccines matter? And it's like, yeah, vaccines like totally matter a lot. And you're like, and you could have had this like a really good response of, and you did this later on in the debate where you kept talking about how the U.S. is, or we've done social distancing many times, and like you don't have to only talk about the U.S. Like the best example is Europe, right? Like the best example of social distancing is Europe and China, but Europe specifically, because Europe, most of Europe like closed down for like months. Then when they reopened and came together again, guess what? Boom, we got COVID outbreaks in many places in Europe over the summer last year, because like they closed down, then they opened up again in summer, and then they did the process again. They closed down, then we had more, and then they opened up again like December-ish, and then we had more outbreaks. So I mean, so Europe is also a really good example for social distancing can work for a short amount of time. Your biggest answer about like, so like the argument Michelle could bring up is that like is that these diseases mutate constantly, and like what you really could have done and like kind of think things through like this is like, okay, but look at like polio. Places where the polio vaccine has been administered widely, do we have like mass cases of polio? No, we don't. Like cases where and things like that, right? It's think of like these deadly diseases that have happened, and then kind of be like, oh, we don't have these anymore because like we had vaccines for them. So kind of like do that, like kind of try. It's hard. It is hard, and you'll get better at it as you keep debating. Do those like internal like thinking processes of like, okay, but like vaccines like really work, and like we have this like a bunch of proof that they really do work, like over long periods of time, even though yeah, sure, viruses mutate, like whatever, but like vaccines still work, and we can like mutate the vaccine. And like there's a lot of really recent evidence that's been coming out of like, yeah, you're that we know that like for COVID specifically, because like the virus is mutating, but we don't have like we don't have a certain amount of people vaccinated, it allows mutations to like actually like increase, and they'll mutate faster as we don't have like more people, as we have like if we have less people vaccinated, the virus will mutate faster. So the more vaccines we give out, the less mutations that will actually happen over like a short amount of time. So the AF is actually kind of really easy in this case to an extent. And to me, the AF is really easy to argue. Like, yeah, we should. And you did a lot of good things at the end. You're like, get back to normal lives, stop death, things like that. She did a good job there. And then you're like your second rebuttal, your first rebuttal, you did a good job. You could have like done a little bit more like the line by line, like specifically attacking like your opponent. You did a good job of attacking your opponent's case, but you could have and probably should have like extended more on your case and said, hey, judge, they didn't talk about this specific point. Extend this across. Like, sure, they have people dying too, but we have people going back to their normal lives. We have the economy increasing, things like that. So she could have totally like done that a little bit better in that first rebuttal. Your second rebuttal was good. You did a lot of attacking, a lot of like defending yourself. You had a lot of good offense and defense there. It was actually it was a good last speech. One thing that you need to definitely do for sure is kind of like give like these like last like minute or 30 second ish, or last minute or 2 minutes of like what we call like crystallization, where you kind of bring it all together and solidify your stance and solidify your point, and kind of like give your judge specific like issues that they're voting on and tell them why you've won. You like did that a little bit when you talk about like the impact, talk about like scope and magnitude, which where was this articulation in public forum? That articulation should happen in all forms of debate, especially public forum, when like you don't have as much speaking time, so you can really so you can get into it, and you should get into it. Like magnitude, scope, and time frame, all that kind of stuff like should happen in public forum too. So make sure you like bring that articulation and analysis to like public forum also. And yeah, so your impacts don't have the same magnitude, right? So magnitude is like the amount of people it affects. Your impacts don't like really high, like you outweigh on like magnitude. You also outweigh on scope, because you have more deaths, so the magnitude of that death is like higher, And then like you can't outweigh on time frame depending on like you also actually outweigh on time frame if you made that articulation. You didn't, but you can make the articulation, you outweigh on like time frame also. So your impacts like matter more. And you also have like I said, the other impacts that aren't touched, like going back to your normal lives, like that is not like adequately addressed at all by your opponent. And you could have like totally extended that and brought it across and used it throughout your analysis. You like articulation about China stuff, like it's irrelevant, all that kind of stuff was good. You like your answer to the first you did a good job answering like the contentions that Michelle brought up, which was really awesome. And yeah, no, you did a good job. That was really good. Oh, your crossfire was good. You kind of like got into some like argumentation stuff, which like you don't want to do. Your cross X was good. You don't want to get into when you were crossing Michelle and you were asking Michelle. You did a good job there, Kevin. You just like don't want to get into an argument. Just like ask questions, and if they answer a certain way, just say, okay, bring it up in your next speech. That's for just for you to kind of get your opponent to say something. Then you bring it up in your next speech. So that way you don't like argue. Because that's kind of irrelevant. It's not that. That's not what that time's for. So just trying to let your opponent get you into arguing. And yeah, but good job. Okay, so Michelle, you did a good job here. You in the first cross-X period where you were crossing Kevin, you like started like bringing up facts and statistics, and I don't know why. Like that's not what that was. That's not really what that's like for, right? Like it's cool to kind of like you asked the majority of all of your questions were good up until you started being like, oh, this like I had this piece of evidence from blah 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 blah, blah about whatever. Like, why does this matter? Why do you not care about this? Like, that's not really what that's for, right? Like, bring that up as an argument and let them respond to it in their argument. Like, and if they don't respond to it, that's good for you. So don't give them the opportunity to respond to it. You want to just ask them like leading questions, kind of get them to say what you want them to say. And also, oh, sorry, I'm gonna go back to Kevin for 1 second because I just saw this. I just saw this written down. So Kevin, so like Michelle kept like talking about how like vaccines are we should be giving out vaccines and like, but it's gonna cost a bunch of money to give out vaccines. Oh no, sorry, I like totally lost where I was. Okay, sorry, Michelle. Your like biggest. I'm kind of surprised you didn't do this. This is something I would have done, but I'm not you, and I'm very different from you. But Michelle, for something like this, if we're already doing something, so you kept saying, you kept making the articulation, which was great, that vaccines are important, but we should also be doing these other things, which is really good, Michelle. That's exactly what you need to do. But what you also like should have done, and what you also could have done, which would have actually helped your case a lot, is to say, no, vaccines should not be mandatory. And be like, the US already gives them out for free. Many other countries are already giving them out for free. So why should we make them mandatory if the people already have access to them? Those who want them will get them. Making them mandatory is really kind of irrelevant and silly because we're not going to, because it doesn't matter because we're already giving them out. And they're already they're already more widely available. So I think that could have been like a really good like area to like kind of argue here. So like for future like cases where it's like, okay, we already do something similar to this, why do we need to do this specifically? That seems kind of silly. You can like and make that an articulate that like throughout the case, like we already do this, why do we need to make it mandatory? What will making it mandatory do? You have like your first contention, like your opponent did totally mishandle the first contention, but you need like or tell me that like more specifically. You kind of just said my first contention, yeah, I had something about human rights, but it really wasn't like a big deal. And then you said, yeah. Then you kind of stopped. And I'm like, okay, but I need more articulation there, right? I need specifically what that contention was about, like why it still like stands, why your opponent hasn't taken it out. Kind of like just give me more. Like you can just restate it. I don't even care. Just say they didn't address all these points in it because there were like a lot of different things in there. Human rights is just a small like piece of it. You can just be like, yo, they didn't even talk about like half this other stuff. So guess what? Extend all that across your flow, judge, or keep bringing up saying extend this, judge. Remember, I said this, and this. They didn't even address it. They just addressed this one small part. And guess what? Drop that small part. Who cares? Whatever. You have a bunch of other things going on. So make sure you articulate that and tell me why. Like I, as a judge, should not have to do work and think. Like you should be doing all the thinking. You should be just telling me what to think and what to do. So just kind of explain that. And again, something with your second contention, you like kind of you talked about their answer to your second contention a little bit, but then like you didn't give me enough detail. I just need more detail. I really need more detail. I just need a lot more details in like your last speech, because you have like 6 minutes. You have a lot of time to give me those details. Like give them to me. I don't care if you just re-say your first speech for part of it and then kind of and explain it more. That's fine. I just need more details. But you had a lot of good answers, like Kevin's case specifically had you had some really good specific answers. It was kind of hard to follow exactly what was happening because Kevin wasn't like a super structured, which is like fine. I see a lot of college debaters who aren't super structured, so don't worry, it is okay. Douglas knows. We've seen a lot of college debaters who are not structured, so it's okay. We actually, really fast story, at one of our national tournaments that we went to recently, there was this person who was the most unstructured person you will ever meet, and she like got 3rd place at the tournament. So like, it's okay. But and this was in college. This was like a few weeks ago or a month ago or whatever. It was like quite disappointing. Anyway, so you did a good job like attacking what you could and like a lot of like specific points in Kevin's case. And that was good. But like Kevin also like didn't, or Kevin addressed some of it, but didn't address enough of it. And also like, remember, you can attack like the opponent's case in your first constructive. Like your first constructive is like a half constructive, like half like rebuttal to Michelle when you're negative on NLD. So you can kind of like attack your opponent's case like when you're done with your case, if you have time. If you don't, it's not a big deal. But like, so don't be afraid to do that, because then you can kind of like extend and do a lot more stuff in your second speech. You've like already kind of attacked their speech in your first one. But yeah, but you did a good job. I guess the one thing I need, like something I told Kevin, something I'm gonna tell you, is like I need like the end of your last speech, some like crystallization to like kind of like explain to me exactly why you've won, and like kind of some like issues that I'm going to vote on to make issues I'm going to vote on that show you've won. So these are like what we call voting issues. Kind of tell me as a judge, like this is exactly why I've won, like 1, 2, 3, 4, as many as you can get. Just go down the list. You're going to be voting for me for reason 1 blank, reason 2 blank, reason 3 blank, reason 4 blank. Kind of just do that, get in the habit of doing that at the end of your like last speech. And it was really good debate. Both of you, you both did a lot of good things, for sure. This topic is a pretty good one. I think that like there's arguments on both sides that you both demonstrated some good arguments on both sides for sure. And yeah, good job, you two. I hope that makes sense. If y'all like need any further like clarification, like I said when you did a public forum, I'm certain Professor Pape could ask me and I could tell him, or he could just like give you ways to contact me, and that would be like totally cool. But for sure, talk to like Professor Pape. Watch this again if you get the recording, rewatch it, and kind of like listen again, and kind of see if you like have any questions or whatever. And yeah, and Professor Pape can totally help you get in contact with me, or he can, like I said, I'll just tell him and he'll tell you like whatever. So yeah, I talked a lot. Good job, you two.
Thank you.
Thank you.